We've got Kim in Nashville. Hey, I love Nashville. I'm going to be in Nashville.
What? Really?
Yeah, I'm coming to Nashville in, I think it's March, for NanoCon and a debate at Austin Peay University.
Oh, that's cool. I saw the video of the last debate. What's the topic at Austin Peay this time?
Whether or not it's reasonable to believe that a God exists. Basically, it's like the last call, only with somebody who's actually got a degree in philosophy.
That's funny. That
and
was
that's
the
not
last
me, by the way.
topic there, right?
What's that?
Oh, that was the same topic you did last time.
The last time was with John
yeah.
Ferrer, yeah. And it was, I think it was the same topic or similar. It doesn't matter.
Which to me there is, I mean, it's still an important one there.
Yeah, and I love Nashville. I mean, when we're on a Christmas trip, we'll drive from like Cleveland, Tennessee area up to Kentucky, and we always stop at the Loveless Cafe out there on the east side of Nashville because it's the best home cooked food in the universe.
Yep, it's pretty awesome.
Anyway, now that I've taken up all of your phone call time talking about me, what did you want to talk about?
Well, I am because of the what's it called, the Thinking Atheist. His podcast. You familiar with that?
Seth Andrews, one of my best friends.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Okay. So because of his podcast, it kind of opened the floodgates to you and then other people I'd never heard of before. And then, but before my deconversion, I am a televangelist junkie. I mean, for years. So, and I still am. And I love it, and I laugh at it too. I laugh at some of it, and then part of it is it's because I believe my Christianity. I still believe I am a Christian, and I think a lot of I don't want to lose that. I don't feel like I have to give that up. Is kind of what I'm saying. Like, I'm married to a Christian man who still has a literal belief. We dated on those terms. We were both raised on those terms. I can't separate myself from it. So I guess what I've come to believe is I am a Christian, but have lost my belief because of evidence or just some things it doesn't take long. You scratch the surface and you're like, oh, okay.
So I'm wondering, so what you seem to possibly be describing is that you don't believe in a God, you don't have a literal belief in the supernatural components of it, but you are culturally a Christian and still have an appreciation for those things.
Yes, and I've found that my best friends, they still, it's never come up. I have no intention of even making it their issue. It's not their issue. You know what I mean? Unless they have those questions themselves. But that no one cares. I am the same. I mean, my private life is different because I don't deal with personal guilt. I don't deal with that spiritual confusion anymore. But my public life and with my friends, I'm the same. And so no one knows. So,
but I would imagine that your friends that you interact with in the Christian community think that you still believe in God and Jesus and all that.
Yes, but here's what I've found, which is it's because I am interested in like the current church, and I watch a lot of church. I stream a lot of church. I'm just a junkie for church, and I have found that they are humanists. The contemporary church, they will preach Jesus, but I think what they're really preaching is peace. They're not really preaching like hell anymore.
It certainly depends on what church you're in.
But exactly. But I am in a city, and the people around me, my friends in my friend group, they're all for gay rights. They're all for separation of church and state. they may personally believe that it's wrong to be gay, but they're not going to they vote on those terms as far as like it's not for me to pick for someone else. And do you see what I mean? I feel like it's just an interesting time where I just can't believe it. Doesn't no one cares? Like because I'm the same.
Well, we could do an experiment, Kim.
Yeah.
Why don't you ask your church if they'd be willing to have me come down and speak at their church?
Interesting. I know they would. He would love it.
It wouldn't be the first time. I have, in fact, spoken at churches. And one of the things is we know from the Clergy Project that there's at least a non-zero chance that the minister at that church is an atheist who just can't quite get out of it. Now, I've been to churches where, by and large, the sermon they preach, it's almost like, for example, Joel Osteen. Even my mom, who is a fundamentalist Christian, she doesn't think Joel Osteen's a real Christian because basically he's a motivational speaker who gets up in his auditorium and talks about, how to have a better life and stuff like that. He very rarely even seems to mention Jesus.
Right.
There are churches where, there were periods of time where the sinners in the hands of an angry God sermons were popular and it was all about hellfire and brimstone. And then other denominations got away from that. But my thing is, it's awesome that there's a Baptist church in Nashville that is perhaps largely, teaching people the value of humanism without necessarily calling it that. But I can't believe that they're not also still advocating for things that are not true. And if we're going to advocate for humanism, I'd rather call it humanism than pretend that it's consistent with Christianity. Because at a minimum, the Christian church that isn't concerned about belief in Jesus or redemption and forgiveness of sins and the Great Commission and is instead teaching humanism things, there's a good argument. I don't get to determine who is or isn't a true Christian, but there's a really easy argument that church is definitely not going to qualify as true Christian in any reasonable sense, because if they're doing that, they've departed so far from orthodoxy and what Christianity is that it would be just. It would be like saying, hey, we have our own branch of the KKK, but we love everybody of all races. Okay, I'm very happy that you love everybody of all races and that you're not advocating for, inequality or genocide or any of these things. But I think there's a good case to be made that you're not really KKK. And so my concern is, why would you hang on to a label that is going to make the entire position confusing and doesn't actually fit what's being advocated?
Well, just to clear something up, from the pulpit, what I've noticed more is from my peers and church members, things that are not like staff associated. But my family's full of preachers and preachers' wives, and we're all the same still. We don't. I don't know, but from the pulpit, it's still preached formal, the formal ideas and the formal.
I can tell you, having grown up in a Southern Baptist church and knowing, I bet if I could call, Matt Slick right now, for example, and I bet what his position would be is that you are in a dead church. Now this is, I'm happy to have as many dead churches as we can find. But from the standpoint of what qualifies as Christian and Christian churches, they have an explanation for this. If your church departs too far from orthodoxy, if you're not concerned with spreading the gospel and adhering to it, then you have a dead church. Now, I'm in favor of that. I know what you're saying. There's an extra step to take. Like, for example, if there was a Baptist church here where everybody in it largely didn't care about the content of the sermons, but we're actually focused on building a community and, engaging in things that had nothing to do with their religion, then my big question to them is, why are you still in that church? Why are you showing up on Sunday and listening to somebody preach at you about something that you don't believe? Because that, to me, would seem to be time wasted. I'd rather have somebody get up and give a message that is relevant to what the people in the pews think and feel.
I do. I totally see that, and I'll tell you that something else I found, because I used to have, after I lost my belief, I got a great interview at a great Christian school, and I got the job, and I gave my testimony at the interview, and because it was still true, and I had too much to lose. And it's also it qualifies, and I hate, but it's true. It qualifies the character of people. Now, not all people, but in a big way, in a community, if something is if you have a testimony, or if you grew up in a certain, if you have that background, it qualifies you on your character. And I think church is similar. It seems safe.
Yeah.
It qualifies the people.
It's safe.
It's safe.
It's safe, and it's a community. And you couldn't pay me to give it credit for doing the things that I advocate. When we go out and my wife's making hats for the homeless, or we're working with Austin Atheist Helping the Homeless, or Humanism at Work, or any of those things, there's no way I would give credit to the generalized view of Christianity. It's not. Basically, Christianity, like many other religions, co-opted those things about humanity that are important and valuable and good, and then glommed their religious paste all over the top of it and held up this collage to say, unless you're part of our group, you're not really contributing to society. We're all about doing good. Well, guess what? I can do all kinds of good and never have to hear or deliver a message about Jesus. True.
True. I personally have too much to lose. It's not going to be my fight there.
And I get that. And we've always said, we've always said that if there's a risk,
But I feel I'm actually excited within my lifetime. I think there's a great fusion of humanism and.
But it's not coming from televangelists.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, listen, I go deep. When I say televangelist, I like them all. And I stream a lot of churches, too. I stream a lot of the contemporary ones. I watch YouTube sermons. There's a guy out in Utah. He's a Christian anarchist. I've never heard that term before.
Yeah.
But anyways, I hear what you're saying. But I feel like because of all the work you do, and because of all the work LGBTQ, did I get all those right? LGBT. I don't know.
Just add a few extra letters on for safety. It's fine.
Okay. But I feel like, all of that is, whether people know it's happening or not, but it is. It'll happen. And I feel like my Christian friends are humanists, and they don't force their own personal beliefs.
Maybe that's because they think you're a Christian.
No, I hang out with them. We hang out. I don't see them. They don't. It's not pushed on anyone, and they don't. Anyways, I'm encouraged by it, because I feel like it'll be less of a confrontation in my lifetime. I don't want that.
So John's an advocate for other options other than going to a Christian church as well. Not just Sunday Assembly and Oasis and stuff like that, but the UU churches.
Oh, yeah. I think what you say, the reason that you stay with it is probably the reason a lot of people stay with it, is because they're comfortable there. That's part of their identity. That's where their friends are. That's where their family is. That's what they're used to. So if they can kind of fit their beliefs sort of into this community and stay there, and churches are evolving, they have to if they want people.
Yeah, they do.
If they want people to keep going, They're going to do positive, uplifting messages. They're going to be doing music. They're going to be doing, what you referred to as motivational speaking. People want to feel good, so they go to the churches that make them feel good. And then, the theology is just kind of the extra baggage there. And I think churches are doing that because that's what they need to do to survive.
I agree.
And I wouldn't, I'm not going to say you're a terrible person or you're an awful atheist or anything like that. I mean, you do whatever you're actually comfortable with. I will say one thing, and you seem jovial enough to not necessarily take offense at this.
Yeah.
Televangelists are pieces of shit
I know,
that are
fun.
almost entirely con artists, and I would have said this when I was still a Bible-believing Christian. They are awful. I don't see, even when I was a Christian, I didn't look at them and say, oh, they're clearly doing the Lord's work, which is why I should send them my Social Security check. That just never flew.
No, it's just so entertaining, and it's fun to tap into.
Oh my gosh, there's plenty of other things that are entertaining. Hey, on Amazon, new show called Sneaky Pete, highly recommended.
Okay.
If you don't have a Prime account, if you got a Netflix account, there's plenty of stuff to watch on Netflix that isn't going to be.
But they don't send you miracle water and prayer cloth.
True. If your goal is to collect Christian kitsch, by all means, keep tuning in. And I have a friend here in Austin, Arlo, who's been on the show before, who has a massive collection of that Christian stuff. So I tell you what, Kim, I'm gonna. Oops, my phone's buzzing too. I'm gonna move on to some other callers, but I look up NanoCon, NANO.
Okay.
I'll be there in the Nashville area, and if we can work it out where your church wants to have me come speak on that Sunday morning, I will do that. But
oh my gosh, okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Bye.
Thank you, Kim. She sounds a little like Beth.
A little bit.
Accent-wise, yeah.
There's a slight difference in the accent between Nashville area and Cleveland area, even though it's only 2.5 hours apart. You can hear it if you are studied in redneckery the way I am. Because there's no denying I'm at least a quarter redneck, or possibly quite a bit more, considering the truck that I just parked out in front of the building. But
that is a big-ass truck.
It is, and it's wonderful. Oh, my gosh, it's so awesome to be able to move stuff around for both the wood shop work. Anyway, none of that has anything to do with the show.
But now everyone who's moving wants to be your best friend, probably.
Yeah. Hey, you got a truck. I know I haven't talked to you in 4 years, but God, I missed you.